at work since I was 10 years old. I actually attended my first protest, technically, when I was in utero. So I've been, I grew up in this work. This is the part of my DNA. It's part of who I am. I work with two organizations based out of New York City. They're called Uprose and Nija. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Uprose has been doing environmental and social justice work. They've did forever, since they were founded, and they've been doing climate change work since 1996. Nija stands for the New York City Environmental Justice Alliance, and it's a coalition of environmental justice groups and waterfront neighborhoods. They organized, along with Uprose, the first Sandy Regional Assembly, which gathered a bunch of the neighboring communities in New York that were most directly hit by Sandy. So these are two great organizations that I've done a lot of work with, but they're only a small piece for why I'm here today and why I'm going to be marching to the UN on September 21st. When Sandy hit, I was lucky and unlucky. Lucky in the sense that I lived at a high enough elevation in my neighborhood that myself and my loved ones in our home wasn't affected that harshly, but unlucky in the sense that I lived in a waterfront community. So looking further down the hill, down the avenue, I saw the havoc that Sandy wrought in the neighborhood. I saw the panic in the streets. I saw people who were afraid of being in their streets and afraid of being in their homes. I saw people who had nowhere to go. I saw people that were cut off from, friends and families across the city because, communication went down. We had very limited transportation alternatives. We had basically, the entire neighborhood relies on a subway system, and we had very little bike paths. It was impossible to drive anywhere. The community was in disarray, and this was a very sad thing to watch. When it happened, my dad and I went up to the roof of our house, and we saw about 20 to 30 20-pound plants that we had on the roof bouncing around like tennis balls. And we had to take all of these down so they wouldn't rocket off the roof and maybe kill somebody. I've never seen anything like that in my life. But more than anything, I was afraid for my grandmother. She lives on the first floor with us. She's 90 years old and she has dementia. When events like these strike, she is the prototypical type of person to get left behind, to be injured, or worse. She's the reason why I'm here today, and she's the reason why I'm going to be marching on September 21st. So this September, politicians, prime ministers, presidents, world leaders will be gathering for the Climate Leader Summit at the UN. Basically, all of the most influential decision makers when it comes to climate change are going to be in one place at one time. And this is a moment. No, this is an opportunity. No, this is our opportunity. It's not a moment, it's not an opportunity, this is our opportunity to let these decision makers, let these power brokers know that strength and leadership is going to be coming from the ground. We're taking the power out of the hands of the decision makers and putting it back where it belongs. Scientists tell us that we're running out of time to solve the climate change problem. It's going to take more than personal actions like switching to energy-saving light bulbs or riding your bike to work. It's going to take a globalized action. It's going to take fast and mass action at every level of government and civil society, and it needs to happen like right now. Droughts in California, Hurricane Katrina, Superstorm Sandy, 3 tornadoes in Brooklyn, all of these serve as reminders that we are running out of time, that this problem is on our doorstep. I've received more alerts. Who has an iPhone? Anybody have an iPhone in here? I've received more alerts, more flash flood alerts in the past 3 weeks than I have in the past 3 years. And I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's been pretty scary. So this is something that is prevalent. Like it needs to happen now. This summit is the right moment for us to show our politicians what real leadership looks like. If we can put hundreds of thousands of people in the streets screaming for climate justice, if we can raise up the voices of the frontline communities and show that that climate change isn't just some abstraction, that it is a burning public priority, then this may be the shock to the system that we've all been waiting for. We believe movements for social change start from the bottom up. This begins with frontline communities. This begins with us. We believe in a just transition and a departure from the dig, burn, and dump economy. This movement building work is centralized around shifting the balance of power through policy change and grassroots organizing. As the ones who have been directly affected by climate change, we're the experts. You guys just did this exercise. You know what your communities need. You know, we know what our communities need to be resilient to climate change and to thrive through climate change. But we lack the economic clout to do what is necessary. So how do we do what is necessary? It is through long-term organizational strategy that we can build grassroots power, and that is something worth investing in. The three main obstacles in our journey are racism, poverty, and the destruction of environmental resources. So how do we get past this? Moving forward, our theory of change needs to be centered around using our people power to create local living democracies that are rooted in equity and ecological sanity. But before we do any of this, you gotta ask who you're doing this for. Who are we? Who are the people of the People's Climate March? Well, we're everybody. We're the elderly, we're the young, we're Black, Latino, we're rural, we are urban, we are educators, we come from different faiths, we are LGBTQ, we're everybody. But most importantly, we're in this together. We know that now is the time to create these just relationships. We're creating climate consciousness on a neighborhood level, and we may be the first and last generation to do this. So let's do it right. It takes everyone to change everything. This is the slogan we've been using, and that's why we're here tonight. We need everybody in this room to mobilize their community for the next 52 days, and that organizing needs to happen on many different levels. The work starts here, right here in Hartford, and I'm so happy you're all here with me. That's all I have to say for now. We're going to move on to the question and answer period now. But before we start taking questions, there are a number of questions that we get every stop.